hands-on prosperity and mental control of conditions are sometimes dangerous because of the misunderstanding of this subject. Science of mind is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not even a get-rich-slow scheme. You know? Neither does it promise something for nothing. It does, however, promise that when we comply with spiritual laws and ideas, that we'll be able to bring a greater possibility and happier conditions into our experience. You know, I think about that very, very often. You know, I go, look, if it were true that it's just a get-rich-quick scheme, well, I mean, look at this. We have some 100 practitioners here. These people have been to school for 5 to 7 years. They pray daily and meditate daily. We've got some 3,000 people on our mailing list. We've got 1,000 members, good people at whatever their level of practice, learning and opening their hearts. We've got a dedicated board of trustees holding the highest good for our center in mind, and a great staff that brings spirituality in their practice. And I know very few people among them who have become a millionaire as a result of this teaching. Oh, we have millionaires in our congregation, but I think most of them were rich before they came. I mean, I'm just saying what is. You know what I mean? I mean, I know very many people in this congregation who have experienced a blessed shift in their perception. I see that all the time. And as a result of this shift in perception, I see them experiencing the reality of life in a profound way, a different personal reality, a peace with the world, a resilience to walk through the world. I call that rich. I've seen a certain happiness and peace of mind, a connectivity and a love grow. A lot of that all the time. You know, I'm just saying, it was all about just sitting down and affirming, well, we wouldn't really have to worry about our bills. But you know, last year in the summertime, we had to have a family conversation. We ran into a tough spot. Isn't that interesting? You know, and he goes on to say, right here, paragraph 2, we do not teach that you can get what you want. If we could all get what we want, it might be disastrous. For it is certain that most of us would want some things that would interfere with the well-being of somebody else. Now, I'm assuming everybody over here has got parents or some kind of caregivers that facilitated our growing up in the world. I mean, you choose which one fulfilled this role for you. In my case, my mother. Thank God her prayers for me are not answered. Do you know what I'm talking about? Praise God. How wonderful is that? Because what she wants for me is not what I want for me. But she loves me. See, that's right. And in that measure, her prayer is answered. See, because that's reality. But anytime we take reality and we start laying over it conditions, outcomes, forms, and things to do and become, well, that's not reality now. Now this is my perception, my desire for you. No, let me instead love you even if you never turn out the way I want you to. See, now my heart's desire is in compliance with reality, and I can have it all. I can have all of that. Without exception, I can have everything that reality is, because reality is your freedom. I can have that. I can have your freedom. Let me love you even if you do things that I don't want you to do. Let me love you even if you do things that are self-destructive. That's your freedom. I can have that. I can have that level of blissful love. That's mine to have. That's yours to have. And I can't have you do a thing. And neither can I have anything that is yours. I cannot have your freedom. I can love your freedom. He says, There is, however, such a thing as demonstrating a control of conditions. Well, that's where it's getting confusing now. When I say you can control conditions, well, you have to read the next sentence. You see? Because, that's the hook. Oh, yeah, I want to control conditions. Certainly, there are a few conditions in my life I'd like to control them. Do you have a few conditions you'd like to control? Certainly, just a few of us. Well, here it is. Here it is, okay? You want to hear it? We shall be able to achieve this in such degree as we are successful in looking away from the condition which now exists. In other words, to leave it alone. Do you see that? To leave it alone. Let it be. There it is. Now it's controlled. Isn't that wonderful? In other words, he's talking about shifting your perspective, dealing with your perceptions, because what you're all about, remember, what is prayer for? Creating an avenue through which reality can come through. So leave it alone. I love that, because I don't want to leave things alone. Don't you want to interfere? He goes on to say, consequently, this teaching does not promise something for nothing. It does, however, tell us that if we comply with the law complies with us. What is the law? Well, another word for law is the nature of reality. In other words, how it works. You see? The law is how it works. And the way it works is it exists as it is in its pure form. Another way of calling that is love. You comply with love, and then the law of love operates in your life. As soon as you try to manipulate and lay things over on love, reality, the law don't work for you that good. You've tried that. See, in other words, like for example, it says, no person can demonstrate peace while clinging to unhappiness. Can demonstrate resignation and call it peace, but it will not be peace. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. See, because that's not how it works. It's got nothing to do with reality. It just has to do with your focus. As I read that, I thought to myself, I know somebody whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation. I have a family member, And honestly, she can be in an environment of sheer joy and celebration, and there's like a dark storm around her. To the point where I feel like it's impossible to penetrate through that mist, And I see what a personal hell she's in, even in the midst of great celebration. And my heart goes out to her. And at the same time, I see moments where her happiness is ignited, and it's as if everything falls down, the whole storm, and daylight breaks through. So I see it's possible. And it reminds me of those times when I'm in my own storm, and it's as if nobody can talk to me. And I remember that it is like that in a twinkling of an eye, and yet reality has never changed throughout all of this. It reminds me of that, to look at compassion with that, And I realize that part of these storms, these contemplations of negativity, it's cultural. Look at us here in the West, what we've got some undoing to do. Think of the prevalent teaching about the nature of the human soul from Calvinism or Puritanism or whatever ism taught us that the essential nature of the human soul is depraved. Born in sin. And so, of course,